Imagine waking up at 3 in the morning, your heart racing, unable to fall back asleep. You grab your phone and scroll through the news. Another wildfire has consumed a town, another heat record shattered. Another scientist warning that we're running out of time. Your chest tightens. You feel a wave of grief for a future that hasn't even happened yet. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. This feeling has a name, and millions of people are experiencing it right now. Studies suggest that in some countries, as many as 70% of people report feeling anxious about the climate. It's called eco-anxiety, and it's becoming one of the defining psychological challenges of our time. Unlike other anxieties that stem from internal worries or exaggerated fears, eco-anxiety is rooted in something undeniably real. The planet is changing, and the headlines remind us daily. But here's what makes it so complicated: it's not irrational. Many psychologists argue that some level of climate concern is actually a healthy, appropriate response to genuine circumstances. So how do you know when normal concern has crossed into something affecting your daily life? And more importantly, what can you actually do about it? To understand eco-anxiety, we need to understand what anxiety itself is. At its core, anxiety is your brain's alarm system. It evolved to keep you safe from immediate threats, like a predator lurking in tall grass or a snake on the path. When your brain perceives danger, it triggers a cascade of responses. Your heart rate increases, your breathing quickens, your muscles tense, blood rushes toward your limbs, preparing you to fight or run. This fight-or-flight response has kept humans alive for hundreds of thousands of years. But here's the problem. Your brain's alarm system wasn't designed for abstract, long-term threats like climate change. It was designed for immediate dangers you can see, confront, or escape. Climate change is neither. You can't run from it because it's everywhere. You can't fight it because it's not a single enemy. And the worst consequences are still years away. This creates a strange psychological mismatch. Your brain receives constant danger signals through news reports and extreme weather events, but it has no clear target for its defensive energy. The result is a persistent state of alarm, constantly bracing for impact. Psychologists have identified several distinct patterns within eco-anxiety, and understanding which one you're experiencing can be surprisingly helpful. Some experience climate grief, a profound sense of loss for ecosystems and species disappearing before our eyes. Others feel climate, anger, frustration toward governments and corporations for allowing this crisis to unfold despite decades of warnings. Then there's climate guilt, the nagging feeling that you personally aren't doing enough, that every plane flight or piece of plastic contributes to the problem. This guilt can become paralyzing, making every consumption decision feel morally loaded. Finally, there's climate helplessness, the sensation that nothing you do will matter because the problem is simply too vast. What's fascinating is how these feelings vary across age groups. Studies consistently show younger people experience significantly higher eco-anxiety than older generations. In a 2021 survey of 10,000 young people across 10 countries, 59% described themselves as very or extremely worried. 45% said climate feelings negatively affected their daily lives. Many reported difficulty sleeping, poor concentration, and questioning whether to have children. Why do young people feel this more intensely? Part of it is simple math. They'll live to see more consequences than older generations. A child born today will experience a world dramatically different from the one their grandparents knew. But there's also a psychological component. Young people today grew up saturated with climate information. They've seen satellite images of shrinking ice sheets. They've watched documentaries about mass extinction. For many, climate catastrophe isn't a future possibility. It's the backdrop of their entire lives, the context in which they're trying to plan careers and families. Older generations aren't immune to eco-anxiety, but their relationship with it often looks different. Many report what researchers call legacy anxiety, worry about what world they're leaving behind for their children and grandchildren. Others struggle to reconcile memories of how the world used to be with the rapid changes they're witnessing. They remember when summers weren't so brutally hot, when certain birds still visited their backyards. This grief for a vanishing world has a name: solastalgia. It's the distress caused by environmental change impacting people while they're still connected to their home environment. Here's where eco-anxiety gets interesting from a psychological perspective. In traditional therapy, the goal is often helping someone recognize that their anxiety is disproportionate to the actual threat. Someone fearing flying might understand that it's statistically much safer than driving. The anxiety doesn't match reality, and therapy helps bridge that gap. But with eco-anxiety, that approach doesn't work. The threat is real. The science is clear. Telling someone their climate fears are exaggerated would be inaccurate and potentially harmful. This creates a therapeutic puzzle that mental health professionals are still working to solve. What many psychologists have landed on is a fundamentally different approach. Instead of trying to eliminate eco-anxiety, they focus on helping people develop a healthier relationship with it. The goal isn't to feel less concern about the climate, but to prevent that concern from becoming paralyzing. This involves building psychological resilience, the ability to face difficult realities without being crushed by them. One powerful strategy is taking meaningful action. This might sound obvious, but there's actual neuroscience behind it. Remember how anxiety triggers fight or flight but leaves you nowhere to direct that energy? Taking action gives your brain a target. It transforms vague helplessness into concrete purpose. This doesn't mean single-handedly saving the planet. It might mean volunteering with a local environmental group, reducing your carbon footprint in ways that fit your life, or having conversations about climate issues with friends. Research consistently suggests that people engaging in collective action report lower anxiety and higher hope, even while remaining fully aware of how dire the scientific projections are. Another strategy involves what psychologists call meaning-focused coping, finding significance in the crisis rather than just despair. Some people focus on the brilliant minds working on solutions, from renewable energy breakthroughs to ecosystem restoration projects happening around the world. Others find meaning in connecting with nature more deeply, spending time outdoors, learning the names of local plants and animals. The key is resisting the urge to look away. Denial provides temporary relief, but ultimately deepens anxiety by creating disconnection. It's also crucial to recognize the limits of individual responsibility. Personal choices matter, but the climate crisis is fundamentally systemic. No amount of diligent recycling will offset emissions from the world's largest corporations. Understanding this can actually be liberating. The weight of the world doesn't rest entirely on your shoulders. You can do your part while also advocating for the structural changes that actually move the needle. Social connection plays a surprisingly important role in managing eco-anxiety. Isolation amplifies every psychological struggle, and climate anxiety is no exception. When you feel like the only one who cares, the weight becomes unbearable. But connecting with others who share your concerns, something shifts. You realize you're not crazy for worrying. You're not alone in your grief. This is why climate support groups and community organizations have become increasingly popular. They provide space to process difficult emotions while channeling them constructively. There's also value in simply allowing yourself to feel sad. Climate grief is legitimate. When a species goes extinct, when a community is displaced by rising seas, sadness is an appropriate response. Suppressing feelings doesn't make them disappear. Many therapists encourage what they call active hope, acknowledging painful realities while still holding on to possibility. Speaking of hope, let's address a common misconception. Being hopeful doesn't mean believing everything will turn out fine no matter what. That's wishful thinking, and it's just as disconnected from reality as despair. True hope acknowledges severity while recognizing the future isn't fixed. It understands that humans have solved seemingly impossible problems before, and countless people are working tirelessly on this one. Hope isn't a feeling you wait for, it's a practice you cultivate through action. Here's something surprising. Some researchers believe eco-anxiety, channeled correctly, could actually be a force for good. Throughout history, anxiety about genuine threats has driven humanity's greatest achievements. Fear of disease led to modern medicine. Fear of oppression fueled civil rights movements. Climate anxiety could be the catalyst for unprecedented innovation and cooperation. The key is ensuring that anxiety translates into meaningful action rather than paralyzing despair. For some people, climate distress becomes genuinely overwhelming, interfering with daily function. They might experience panic attacks when seeing climate news or fall into depression about the future. If that sounds like you, professional help is available and increasingly tailored to this specific struggle. More therapists are training in climate-aware psychology. You don't have to carry this alone. So where does this leave us? We started with that 3 a.m. dread, and I want to return to it. That tightness in your chest, that grief for an uncertain future. These aren't signs that something is wrong with you. They're signs you're paying attention. Evidence you care about something larger than yourself. And while that caring feels heavy sometimes, it's also one of the most beautiful things about being human. The challenge isn't to stop feeling anxious. The challenge is letting that anxiety move you rather than paralyze you. To let it connect you with others rather than isolate you. The planet doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to show up, do what you can within your sphere of influence, and remember you're part of a vast community trying to build something better. The next time you find yourself awake at 3 a.m., scrolling through climate news, take a breath. Feel your feet on the floor. Remind yourself you're not alone in this feeling. Then ask yourself one question: what's one small thing I can do today that matters? Because here's the truth that eco-anxiety tries to obscure: the future isn't written yet. Every action and choice creates ripples extending far beyond what you can see. That's not wishful thinking. That's how change has always worked, one step at a time, together.